release from in the morning.
Hello and welcome to Paratalk with the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. Paratalk podcast contains explicit language, scary content, and adult humor. Parental discretion is advised.
It's time for Paratalk, a wide-ranging discussion covering hauntings, paranormal encounters, UFOs, cryptids, and true crime. With your host, Stephen Brown, and your East Tennessee Ghost Seekers, Steve Wiseman, Andrea Brown, Elsie Adams, Jesse Arms, Amy Sharp, Justin Howard, and me, Mike Howard. To join in the discussion, email etgsparatalk@gmail.com. And now, it's time for Paratalk.
All right, guys, we're back 2 weeks in a row.
Yay!
Oh my!
Oh my
I know.
God!
What is up with that?
2 weeks in a row. But for you guys that tuned in before we actually started our bumper, you got to hear some Meatloaf.
Yes.
The loaf.
The loaf. And as we all know, today we lost Meatloaf.
Yep.
And we also lost Louis Anderson.
I know.
Sucky start to the year.
Yeah, we're a month in and we've lost them and Bob Saget. That one hurt.
Yes.
I mean,
Poitier, Yvette Milieu.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them.
yeah. I just,
Betty White kicked it off right before the end of the year.
Yeah.
well, she didn't want to make 2022 really suck.
Right.
Just
'Cause-
mildly.
Yeah.
Somebody
it just
right
carried
now,
over.
somebody needs to go find Willie Nelson and put him into hiding right
And
now.
Dolly
Oh,
Parton.
shit.
And
And Dolly. Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Scary.
Witness protection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
Good God. Well, all you guys that are in the chat, welcome to the show. And we're glad you're joining us this week. And I hope you're going to like the topic this week. Last year, we did an entire month devoted to serial killers.
Yes.
And I
Yes, we
enjoyed
did.
it.
Yes,
I
I did
enjoyed-
too.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I may have come out of the month, craving steak. I don't know.
I'm always craving steak. What are you talking about?
But this week, we got this idea because of the new documentary that's
Yes.
on Discovery Plus, and also the new movie. Is it out now?
I think
I think it came out last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, everybody knows about Sidney. What's your favorite scary movie?
Yep.
That girl's been through some shit.
She has.
Poor Sidney.
She has.
Poor
Sydney.
Sidney. Yeah. And guys, we can't forget about poor little Kaylee, 333 years old.
I know.
Bless her.
We hope she's okay.
Yeah. And if you guys don't get that, listen to last week's episode. But so little did I know, and I'm surprised I didn't know, because I'm a horror movie freak and a serial killer freak, that Scream was actually, somewhat based off of a serial killer.
Yep.
I mean, the writer of the Scream franchise, or the first Scream movie anyway, he was inspired by this gentleman. Well, I'm not even going to say gentleman. This guy that we're going to talk about tonight. This monster we're talking about tonight. So, yeah. And he was a monster.
Oh, yeah.
But he was so polite.
Mm-hmm.
In every interview, in everything, you never saw him raise his voice, get angry.
He was one of those, by the looks of him, was very unassuming.
He was the guy next door.
He was a guy next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't want him next door.
No, you didn't.
No.
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 Especially if you lived on a college campus for a while, and he just so happened to be hanging out in the woods next to it. Yeah. You didn't want him there. Yeah.
I mean, this creature terrorized the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And, I mean, it was such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But
3 days.
But it seemed like with all of the news and just everything surrounding it, it really, I could only imagine, because I was not down there and I was like 10 when it happened.
Were you 10? It happened in 1990.
Yeah. No,
she was 9.
I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 9.
You're a baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could only imagine that it just seemed like months and months and months that this was just, he was terrorizing for that long.
Yeah. But it was literally 3 days.
Yeah.
That everything happened in. They were terrorized because they were still scared that it was going on. But Andrea, go ahead and tell everybody this monster, creature, as you put it, his name, and give us some background on him.
Well, you gave me like 4 billion pages here, so...
They all have his name on it.
Yes. His name, Daniel Harold Danny Rowling, a.k.a. the Gainesville Ripper.
Yes.
He was an American...
He was born in Louisiana.
And necrophilic serial spree killer, serial rapist, one-time family annihilator, and one-time bank robber who terrorized Florida in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sounds like a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah. He was a winner. He was a winner.
Yeah. Hockey Man's joined us, by the way.
Welcome, Hockey.
Hello.
Welcome. So,
But yeah, Rowling killed 5 students, University of Florida students, over the course of 4 days.
Yeah.
yeah.
5 people, 4 days. And then it turned out later on that he actually killed 3 other people in Shreveport, Louisiana, and raped several as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tried to kill his own father.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And that was before all this.
Oh, yeah.
That was
like the kickoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, and all right, I got my taste. Let's go.
Yeah. So let's talk about Rowling. Yes, Rowling and his upbringing. Mm-hmm. So his dad was an asshole.
Yep.
Just like most serial killers, his dad was an asshole.
Terribly abusive.
Very.
In just about every way.
Yeah.
So this right here actually says Rowling's parents, James and Claudia, married when Claudia was 19, and she became pregnant with Rowling 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure she did.
Yeah. Much to James's disgust, by the way. Mm-hmm. He and the rest of the family were abused by James, who would tell Rowling, who was the subject of most of the abuse, ever since he was born, that he was an unwanted child. Mm-hmm. Okay, right there.
Keep in mind, too, his father, James, was a Shreveport police officer.
Yes. Yeah.
So in one instance, James pinned his son to the ground, handcuffed him, and had his coworkers at the local police department take him away, all because he was embarrassed by him. Rowling's mother, Claudia, tried several times to leave James, but always returned. In his teenage and young adult years, Rowling committed several robberies in the neighboring states for which he was arrested, and he was also caught spying on a cheerleader in a dressing room. In May of 1990, after years of abuse, Rowling attacked his father during a family argument. While hoping to kill him, the attack failed, but James lost an eye and an ear.
Yes, because he shot him twice.
Yes.
Boom.
In the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it still pisses me off every time I hear something like this. So it pisses me off on one hand that they were abused because their parents helped make this monster. Mm-hmm. But what also pisses me off is that everybody failed to see the signs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody said
something's going on here.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, and apparently the signs were very bad in Rowling's case because it was him, his mother Claudia, and his brother Kevin. Mm-hmm. And Rowling said that his father James would beat them, both him and his brother, because of such things as breathing incorrectly and annoying him.
Yeah.
So they would breathe too loudly or breathe through their nose, and it would then annoy their father, who would then in turn beat them.
So he wanted them to be mouth breathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was so angry at Claudia, his wife, he held her down and forced her to cut herself with razor blades.
And yet this was a cop.
So, but you got to think, let's kind of go into
his dad,
where he came from. He witnessed his dad.
No, his grandfather.
Or was it? I thought it was
his
dad.
grandfather.
His grandfather come up behind his grandmother and cut her head off.
Yeah. Apparently, there was an argument during dinner. The grandfather got up from the table, walked into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, came up behind the grandmother. This is in front of James as a boy, and cut his wife's head off. And then apparently proceeded to sit back down and finish his meal.
Yes.
This is in front of his kids.
And grandkids. Yeah. And so Danny's dad would often threaten his wife
with the same thing.
With the same thing. He's like, I saw my grandfather cut my grandmother's head off. Don't make me do that.
What is wrong with people?
Don't make me do that to you.
Yeah.
I mean, dude was.
I mean,
he had no chance. He was fucked up from birth.
Yeah, from that point, it was like done.
Yeah, there was even a story that Danny Rowling had a dog that he loved very much, but the father was so upset with Danny that he would beat the dog. He beat the dog so often that the dog died in Danny's arms after about 2 years.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So from the get-go, this guy
he didn't have
no chance. But that really, like we had discussed earlier, you either like take this experience and grow from it, move from it, and do better.
Yeah.
Or you just follow in those footsteps. And he obviously chose to follow in the footsteps.
I mean, from the abuse he had, from the way his dad talked to them and treated them, unless he got out early.
Well,
especially then.
But the thing about it is once again, you can either take that experience and, try to
learn from it and
get away from it and be better, or you follow in those footsteps. Now, he had this innate, want to try to please his father. And because his father was such a bad person, the route that he thought that he needed to take to please his father was the same route that his father was going.
Right. And he tried, the thing is, he tried to better himself. He tried to get out. He joined the Air Force, or was it the Air Force?
Yeah,
or
it was Air Force.
Yeah, joined the Air Force and spent a year in the Air Force and then got kicked out because of habitual drug abuse. Yeah, he was excelling in the beginning.
Yeah,
and started drinking, and which you're in the Air Force, you're in the military, you're gonna drink. It's how else are those guys gonna relax?
I'm willing to say for Gen 6, I'm willing to say that there's probably a deeply rooted issue in that family mentally. They're just all mentally fucked up.
See, and Gen 6, you are actually, that was part of this documentary that we had watched was, is this a generational curse?
Right.
Because grandpa, dad, son, it seems like this type of thing just carries on. Is it an actual curse, or is it just
not breaking
three generations of horrible people,
right?
And that just keep doing bad things.
Sure. And here's the sad thing about it too, is not only were the signs very noticeable, but people, if you dig into the background of the story, with Rowling's father being in the Shreveport Police Department, apparently it was just kind of ignored by everybody around Shreveport. It was known because Danny was in trouble with the law throughout his entire teenage and young adult life. He was breaking into people's houses. He was peeping Tom. He was doing all kinds of stuff, and he was always getting into trouble. But they say go back when he was a younger teenager, him and his father got into an argument one time. The father ends up, keep in mind, his father is a police officer. The father handcuffs him, puts him on the ground, beats him on the ground, and then is so embarrassed by him, he calls the police. He calls his own police station and has them come and pick up Danny and arrest him and throw him in jail for the night.
Right.
This is a kid.
Yeah.
This is a teenager.
Wow. Which obviously And total speculation and assumptions, but kids that start off young doing things like that are doing it for attention.
Sure.
Yeah. Or they're doing it because they're getting nothing but negative attention.
I mean, hey, my parents aren't paying any attention to me. Maybe if I do something so dramatic, they'll, start paying attention to me. Well,
yeah.
Obviously in this case, Daddy was not the type to be like, you did a bad thing. We need to learn from this. No, he was like, you're going to pay for this deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just start beating him.
Yeah.
But so he goes to the military, comes back, because he gets kicked out because of the drug abuse. And that's when the confrontation really jumps up between him and his dad. Yeah, that's when everything came to fruition right then, and they have an argument, and then Danny leaves, goes out, comes back in, and pulls a gun on his dad and shoots his dad.
Well, and don't forget, earlier that day,
his dad had pulled a gun on him.
This argument had been going on for apparently several hours throughout the day.
Yeah.
And apparently both the father and Danny had alcohol problems. Apparently the earlier fight in the day, the father pulls a gun, fires 6 times, and misses Danny. Doesn't hit him. Because apparently he's a stormtrooper.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what I was going to say. He didn't know he was supposed to hit the one in the middle.
Yeah. Fires 6 times at his son, literally from across the room, misses him all 6 times. So later on, fight continues, it escalates. Danny goes and gets a gun, shoots Dad, hits him twice, loses an eye in the ear, doesn't kill him though.
Yeah. Shot in the face.
That is a strong SOB right there.
At almost point blank range.
Yeah.
And that's where he loses an eye in the ear and doesn't die. That's how mean that son of a bitch was.
Yeah.
So
evil's hard to kill.
Apparently. So from him, he shoots his dad and then he runs.
He thinks he's dead. I guarantee. At that point, he's like, I killed him. I got to go.
Yeah. But
if he gets up, he's going to kill me.
Right.
But before he leaves Shreveport, he has something else he has to do to get out of his system.
I think he had his eye.
Yeah, he had
on this particular female, and that whole voyeurism progressed to the point of, well, I like what I see. I'm going to take it. So thinking that this poor girl is by herself, breaks into this house, and lo and behold, Dad and nephew's in there, 8-year-old nephew and 55-year-old dad.
No, grandson.
Well, it was her
nephew.
Her nephew. And, well, I got to get rid of them all now.
Yeah, he has to get through the obstacle before he can get to the finish line.
Dad and nephew and proceeds to rape and torture and then
kill
her.
Yeah.
But
keep in mind that we're talking about he killed a 55-year-old man,
an 8-year-old
boy, and then raped and killed, cleaned and posed a 24-year-old girl.
Yeah. So that was part of his thing. He was creating his own identity while doing this.
Yeah.
This first murder.
Yeah.
By posing her.
And they said he stabbed that little boy so hard that the knife stuck in the floor.
Yeah. Apparently they were preparing dinner when he broke into the house and attacked them.
Yeah.
See, I had a question for Stephen earlier while we were watching these documentaries, all of them. You got these serial killers who all have a trademark. Something's piece of body missing, some kind of trademark. Well, his was cleaning them up and posing them, right?
Yep.
But do you think in the mind of a serial killer that would occur on that first murder or the subsequent? Because this is what kind of throws me off is that he had this in his mind. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean her up. I'm going to pose her.
He cleaned her with vinegar.
But like we remember from Ted Bundy, his first was like messy,
super sloppy. Yeah.
and then after that he was like, all right, well I'm gonna create this pattern here.
Well, it's possible that there was a murder or two out there that we still don't know belong to him.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Now, he himself only claimed to kill 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
He admitted to
because
killing 8.
it signified the 8 years he had spent in prison, and that's why he stopped himself.
Yeah, that's he didn't get caught or anything.
No, and that was one of his things. Is he didn't want them to catch him. He wanted to just stop at 8 because that was his significance right there, and that's why he gave himself up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I don't know if in any of those notes there, if it mentions how many times that he stabbed this family. I know they said the little boy was, I can't remember, like 6 or 8 times he stabbed the little boy, I thought.
Yeah.
And, this monster,
Yeah. Well, apparently he had an ex-wife.
Yes, he had an ex-wife
did.
and a child.
And she was a brunette.
Yes.
And that was another one of his things. That was what he was attracted to, were the petite brunettes. And
Yep.
I mean,
But yeah, he had, before all this shit started, he had got married. He met this lady. They started dating. They got married. She got pregnant. He couldn't hold down a job. He kept getting fired from jobs. So she got fed up and she left.
Can't say I blame her.
Yeah. And so, somewhere out there is his child, that I'm sure the mother told no info to
Yeah.
once all this stuff came out.
I mean, would you want to be connected?
No. That's what I'm saying. She probably, this child probably has no clue that her real dad
Is who it is.
is who it is.
Now, this is weird.
You would-
This says
you
he
would
had
hope
9.
so.
This says he has 9 victims, 9 killed.
9 killed. Yeah, that's wrong. It's 8.
It's 5 in Florida and 3 in Shreveport.
Yeah, because he didn't kill anyone in prison, and his dad didn't die. So,
That's just what this
I mean, he eventually did, but, not at the hands of his son.
Yeah. Honey, Daddy went on vacation and never came back.
Yeah.
I mean, crazier things have happened.
It's true.
All right. So anyway, though, he kills this family. He kills and rapes, tortures, and kills the lady. Her name was, I know her name's on that sheet.
So the daughter,
Yeah.
Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Grissom family.
Yes. And cleaned her up and posed her. And another thing that I want to talk about once we go through these other murders, and don't let me forget to say, hey, remember there was something else you wanted to talk about after we go through the other ones.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope you're not counting on me alone because
I'm looking at you.
I
Amy.
have the memory of a gnat.
But so then he leaves Shreveport, and on his way traveling, he continues to do some robberies and all that to get money to continue on his way to Florida, where he wound up. And
This actually gives like estimated amounts that were stolen each time.
during his robberies
Yeah.
at the Winn-Dixie,
All of them.
yeah,
At the Winn-Dixie, he stole $800.
right,
At the second Winn-Dixie, just 4 days later, $956 was stolen. And there was an unspecified robbery in Alabama. July 22nd of 85, at a Kroger, $290 was stolen. December 24th of 89, a home invasion where $30 $30, a bottle of whiskey, and a .38 caliber revolver were stolen.
Got to have that bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Then we have a home invasion with 2 handguns and an identification papers were stolen. A Westwood United Superstore, $1,661 was stolen. And the same store, like 15 days later, $2,001 was stolen.
You'd think they would have learned not to keep that much money.
I know, right?
A guy named Christopher Osborne, he was robbed and stole his car only. At a Tampa Save Pack, an unspecified amount of cash was stolen. And then there was just another unspecified bank robbery.
All right.
He has a track record.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
he does.
Oh, he totally did. You know, and so that was all stuff that he did on his travel from Shreveport to Gainesville.
Yeah, because he hit up Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and then Florida. Mm-hmm. And he was actually arrested in each of those states.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that you have to know the timeline too. It's a fairly short timeline because he killed the Grissom family in Shreveport in November of 1989.
November 4th. And then moved into 1990 starting on August 24th.
August 24th was the first murder
in Gainesville.
So he did all this in less than a year.
Less than a year.
Including all the robberies.
Yes.
And he was still fucking free running around doing this shit.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, part of that, you have to look at the way jurisdictional stuff was done.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
The guy's out stealing shit.
I agree
killing, he's
wholeheartedly.
destroying families.
Yeah.
I
And
agree
nobody
wholeheartedly.
went, hey, throw his fucking ass in jail and leave him there.
Right. And he left Shreveport because of the charges on him against his dad.
I know.
You know, because charges were filed on him.
He attempted to kill his father, who is a police officer.
Well,
I
yeah, they
mean-
should have locked his ass up and thrown away the key.
Right.
if they were able to catch him.
But see, he left as soon as that happened. And so in this year, he travels from state to state.
Right.
And is arrested multiple times.
Well, because jurisdictionally, computers weren't a big
Right.
thing.
So they weren't like, oh, here's a bolo for,
Yeah, it was like,
Danny.
you got any warrants out for you, boy?
Yeah.
Well, no, sir, I don't. This is the first time I've ever done this.
I got hungry, so I had to rob a place. Yeah.
Twice
Yeah.
in 2 weeks.
I mean, granted, I could have stole a hamburger or something or, some sandwich meat. But no, I decided to steal some money from
I
the
wanted $3,000.
Yeah. I saw how easy it was, so I came back.
Well, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They know that he did it, and they've arrested him in multiple different states, but nobody said there's something wrong about you.
Right. So then he gets to Gainesville. What do you got?
Well, I was just going to say that, in that time, in all this time, there were actually other women that had been attacked, raped, and everything. They just managed to not get killed.
Right. Right.
What was the difference?
Well, the thing was, there were these women that were attacked and raped, but they couldn't pin it on him.
Yep.
They occurred in the same town he was in at the same time he was there. But at this point,
they couldn't prove it was him.
Yeah, at this point he was not even on the watch list for anything like that.
The robberies actually started in his first one was in 1976. But actually, and I see here that his dad was actually shot in the stomach and the head.
Yeah, one to the stomach, one to the head. Yeah, that's what it was. And so, but
at some point you're just like, somebody just stop him.
Well, here's the weird thing. This is kind of the weird thing where you get into, the paranormal side of it. You're going, okay, you're listening to a paranormal group talk about
Serial killers.
But the thing we found, especially when we talked about serial killers last year for that week or that month, there's always these weird coincidences and and just so much chance and just weird dumb luck that happens.
Yep.
where they should have been caught or something should have happened or they had multiple chances to find them, but for some reason
They didn't.
they just don't.
Right.
Yep.
Or it's just hidden or it's just unexplained. You know,
Or overlooked.
Like,
Such as?
still to this day, I want to know how in the hell, in the Amityville horror case, Ronnie is able to go through his house,
Kill everyone.
shoot a gun at least 5 times, not a small gun, but a large caliber rifle,
Yep.
sometime
nobody
between
heard it.
midnight and 3 a.m. in the morning,
And no one
and
in the neighborhood
no one in
heard
the
it.
neighborhood hears it. Dogs don't bark. There's no sound that comes out.
The other people in the house.
Nobody
Yeah.
wakes up in the house.
Yeah.
They
It's
all
like a
sleep through
blanket,
it.
like a silence blanket was just laid over the entire neighborhood.
Yeah. And there was no silencer on this weapon
No.
that he
No,
used.
it was a large caliber rifle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was able to go through and massacre his entire family, and nobody woke up. Nobody heard anything. Nobody heard anything outside the house. How many times Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was able to get away,
Yep.
and seemingly times when he should have been caught, would have been caught, but somebody just didn't see him, or they didn't notice him.
Ted Bundy.
The man
Yeah.
smelled like a fucking goat
Yeah.
when he went in to check into the hotel,
Yep.
but they just didn't notice him.
Right.
Yeah, how do you not notice? I'd been like, man, did you smell like a? God,
Ted
that would
Bundy.
like be burned
Yeah.
into
Ted Bundy.
the mind.
He got
At the
away
lake.
multiple times.
Well, at the lake,
Yes.
the day at the lake,
Yeah.
you're there during a holiday weekend. There are thousands, not a couple. There are thousands of people around you,
Yep.
and you're able to not only pull off one kidnapping and murder,
2.
but 2 in the same day in the same area in front of people. People see you wrestling with a girl in your car, and nobody goes, "Oh, that's weird."
Yeah.
I should stop that.
They don't even notice you.
Yeah.
It's like you're invisible. So yeah, you start going, okay, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Something here is, because look, if I go 5 miles over the speed limit, I guarantee a police officer will pull me over.
Yes.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
If I jaywalk in the wrong place, somebody's going to be there to see me and I'm going to get a ticket.
Yeah.
These guys are committing heinous acts of murder and robbery.
And it's like, what?
And they're
And
seemingly
oblivious
invisible
to everyone.
Yeah, they're seemingly
Yeah.
invisible. What else is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, and looking at him through different pictures, different stages of pictures, just like most of the others. I wouldn't have, Ted Bundy, if I had seen him,
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought that.
I wouldn't have thought anything.
No.
And so the guy that Ed Humphreys, they try to pin it on him
Yeah.
because he had some mental issues and he was
Oh, he
had a
looks
scar on his
scary.
He looked
Yeah.
scary. The poor guy got, disfigured in a car accident, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's got to be him."
He
not
looks
there
like a
yet.
bad guy.
I know.
We're not there yet.
But anyway, with the whole in plain sight type thing,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
You got police officers showing up at your lair, at
Yes.
the place where you have dead bodies in the refrigerator.
And helping you get the guy that you're
Helping you
about
get
to
the guy
kill
that's trying to
back
run
the
away
apartment.
back into the house. Oh, it's just two gay guys. They're just having a fight. Ha
Yeah.
ha 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 ha. We'll laugh and walk away now.
Yeah.
And then a couple hours later, the guy's dead.
Yep.
And
But, like,
don't forget the killer clown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Gacy.
mean, the poor kid was like, he couldn't even really articulate anything
No.
because he already had
He
acid
was
in
already
his
drugged.
brain.
Yeah.
And he's going, no. He didn't want to go with him. I
Right.
mean, I would have questioned that.
Yeah.
normal people would have been like,
Yeah.
But for some reason, those police officers, they've had time. Something went.
It's fine.
These are not the droids
Well,
you're looking for.
probably because at that time the whole gay thing was like, yeah, I don't want to get involved in that.
Here's the thing, though. Most cops back then were supposed to be anti-gay. You broke that shit up. You hauled them in on trumped up charges.
Most of them. However, you've got some that are just kind of like,
I ain't touching
out
that
of
gay
sight,
guy.
out of mind. I'm not getting involved in this. I don't know what they do behind closed doors.
It's just the weird thing that with all these different stories that we come across, all these you're just like, there were so many chances that they should have been caught, they should have been stopped,
Yep.
but it just wasn't.
Right.
So you start to wonder what the hell else is going on here.
I mean, Ted
What's
Bundy was
protecting
pulled over with a dead body in the car
Yeah.
and his murder kit,
Yeah. So
and drove away.
Yeah.
what's protecting them? Yeah.
Evil.
It's some unseen force.
I mean, come on. Gacy sat there and would walk out and talk to the police that were sitting outside of his house.
Yeah.
He bought them drinks.
Yes.
He invited them in for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they went.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
in the house where there were dead bodies in the crawl space. And they're going, it smells weird around here.
What are you cooking in there?
Be like, I think you got a dead rat under your house.
Yeah,
you might want to go get that
wanna-
checked.
I want to get an exterminator over here.
Or like Rodent says, I don't feel like doing the paperwork tonight. You know?
And that could very well be it too.
Yeah.
And in this case, they were so close. He was hiding out. So when he got to Florida, he was hiding out in these woods that was tucked in the middle of the University of Florida,
Right.
Gainesville. And apparently the woods are real thick. Nobody goes back there. I wouldn't either, but whatever. He had a little his camp set up and whatever. At one point, they're searching after maybe the first murders. They come across this camp.
The campsite.
And it was right after one of the robberies. And he had the bag in there that had the ink.
Yeah,
Side pack.
They had him and
His drug dealer.
yeah, him. It was him and an African American gentleman had robbed this bank, and the teller, when she was packing the money in there, she put one of the dye packets in there that would explode, and that way, if the money's spent, they know that it came from that robbery.
Yes.
So he hides the money in his little camp area. Him and this guy are seen going into the woods. So
The police
police
follow
come
him.
after him, and
Danny
Danny
runs.
takes off running. They capture this other guy, and
They're like, who's your buddy?
Yeah.
It's Mike Kennedy.
yeah, and he says his name's Mike Kennedy, which is probably what Danny told this guy
Yeah.
his name was.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, because
because he don't want to say, because
I'm Danny.
yeah, I'm Danny. I'm the guy that shot his dad.
Because at that point, you don't know. He doesn't know if his face is in the news.
Right.
How far news has traveled.
So
He's covering his butt.
the police go there.
And they're like, oh, we see this bag of money. That's from a robbery. Oh, here's a gun. That must have been, that actually it wasn't even used in the robbery.
No, it was used in the robbery. It wasn't used in
the murders.
The murders.
So, and then they see, there's a bunch of other stuff. They collect it. And what do?
Throw
They
it
pack-
in an evidence
Yeah,
locker.
throw it in evidence. There is a tape recorder
With a cassette.
with a cassette that dear Danny has been basically telling his life story on. He says his name. He alludes to many, many things. And it doesn't happen until
And he ends with,
I gotta go.
I gotta
got
go.
something to do.
There's some things I got. And he was like, don't hate me. Don't judge me for what I'm doing. La da 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 da. I don't mean to hurt anyone. Blah blah blah. But there's something I have to go take care of. I'll talk to you later. End of tape.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
And from there is where he started
His spree.
his spree.
And had they, if somebody, which, shoot, if I come across like something like that, I'm like, ooh, what is this? And I'm going to start listening to it.
Yeah.
But it gets thrown
But
in
it gets thrown in
bag.
evidence.
Again, the police go,
Yeah.
tape
Yeah.
recorder with the tape? Listen to that.
It could just be music.
He's listening to Wham. I don't want to hear Wham.
So that was one of those cases of, like it hiding in plain sight. It was right there.
Yep.
This whole time they're like, oh, who is this person? Gainesville Ripper. And they could have had the name
Yep.
days in advance.
Right.
And several pieces of his background and backstory, too.
Yeah.
Because he talks to his dad several times on the tape.
Yes.
Hope you're proud of me now, Dad. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to do things to make you happy with me, Dad. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
And then, if I had heard that, I would have been like, let's see who Dad is.
Yeah.
And why is he wanting to make him proud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
James, we
Sir?
need to speak to you, please.
Why does your son feel the need to make you happy by robbing banks, killing people?
Yeah. Gen 6 says, hit the play button, stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly.
but I mean, so he leaves that evening after recording that.
Ugh.
And he arrives at the
Winchester.
University of Florida.
Yeah.
Winchester
The apartment
Apartments.
buildings.
Yes. And
About 50 yards from his campsite.
yes, short little walk.
Now,
Because they say the woods. But the thing is, you imagine Gainesville, Florida. It's not out in the middle of nowhere.
No.
It's a fairly large city. If you've been in a fairly large city, you've seen these apartment
Stands
buildings.
of
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like a big, massive city with skyscrapers
Yeah.
and all that. It's just a normal town.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
you
town,
think you think
know?
late 80s.
Yeah.
You've all seen those type of apartment buildings. They got 2 or 3 stories on them. They're all open. You can walk, and you've got some little wooded areas next to them, and that's what it was. It was a small wooded area that he was camping in,
Yes.
50 yards from. And the first night he walks up to go see the apartment of Sonia Larson and Christina Powell,
Yeah. And
17-year-old freshman.
yeah,
This is, I think, one of the most terrifying things I've ever heard of.
yeah,
Because what happens, and then we were talking about him being a monster. He breaks into the house
with a screwdriver.
with a screwdriver, breaks into the apartment, finds 17-year-old Christina Powell asleep on the downstairs couch. He stands over her briefly, doesn't wake her up.
Right.
I find that absolutely terrifying.
Yes. Does not wake
He
her
apparently
up.
stands there and watches her for a while, doesn't wake
Yeah.
her up. Instead, he goes upstairs, finds the upstairs bedroom, finds Sonia Larson sleeping, also 17 years old. Tapes her mouth shut, tries to stifle her screams. She tries fighting him, so he stabs her to death upstairs. Keep in mind, the whole time this is happening,
Her friend's asleep
Christina
on the couch.
Powell's asleep on the couch downstairs.
Yep.
He then goes back downstairs, tapes her mouth shut, binds her wrists together,
Rapes her.
threatens her with a knife, cuts off her clothes with that same knife,
Yes.
rapes her, forces her face down on the floor, stabs her in the back 5 times, and then poses their bodies in sexually provocative positions.
After washing them.
Yeah, washes the body. And then, here's one of the most disturbing things. After he does all this, and you got to imagine, he's been in this apartment for quite some time. He's killed both these people, poses them, washed them and poses them. He then takes a shower in their apartment and then finally decides to leave.
Yes.
And plays music.
Yeah.
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 What the fuck?
like these girls they hadn't even made it to the first day of school.
No.
The first day of
Yeah.
school was the following day.
Yeah. It was their first night
Yeah.
in that apartment.
Yeah.
You know, because the parents were trying to get the girls into a dorm. There were no dorms available. So they got them, they didn't want them far off campus. So they got them in an apartment right there at campus.
Yep.
And, thinking that's a safe place for them to be, And neither one of the parents wanted their daughters going and living by themselves.
Yep.
So they found each other
Yep.
and became roommates, got this apartment, first night in the apartment, and
Yep.
get killed.
Get them all moved in. It's a Friday night. They both fall asleep. Dead.
And their third roommate, she wasn't even home.
No. Had she been, she would have
She'd
been
be
another
dead
victim.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But see, and that it's going back to that whole him saying that he, killed 8 people to represent the 8 years he was in prison. Well, number one, especially the last 2, he didn't know that there was a man there. That was like oops.
Bonus.
yeah.
Yeah. So I guarantee you
He would
would
have kept going.
Yeah.
he would have kept going.
No, he's completely full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they arrested the other guy, he was like, ooh, I can lay low for a little while. I need to lay low for a little while.
Right. All right. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll tell you about the third murder in Gainesville. And this one is a whole new kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So, you guys hang tight, listen to some bumpers, and we'll be right back.
So many people spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on that perfect infrared camera, hoping to catch that epic paranormal shot or simply to document their nighttime escapades, only to pair it up with an IR illuminator that gives off a hotspot in the center of the frame and performs subpar for their camera's capabilities. We did the same thing. Let me save you some time and money spent on multiple IR lights with one name, Deadlight. Created from the minds of Josh Bender and Justin Brown, who are also paranormal investigators, the Deadlight is the elite light to add to your camera arsenal. We have tested the Deadlight and illuminated areas up to 300 feet away. Did I mention these lights are built like a tank? Super durable and sturdy construction. Josh builds each Deadlight to meet your needs and is in constant contact during the building process. So forget the other lights out there and go straight to the best. You can check out the complete line of Deadlights on Facebook at Deadlight LLC. Justin and Josh are constantly exploring new features to add to the Deadlights. ETGS will never use another light in the field, simply because nothing else compares. Get your Deadlight today and you too can light up the night.
You're listening to Parrot Talk with East and Seco Seekers, a new perspective in paranormal talk radio.
You're listening to Parrot Talk. If you have a question or an experience to share, email us at etgsparrowtalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. And now, back to Parrot Talk.
All right, we're back. And before we get going on this, I just want to, real quick, we've had a few requests for Andrea to do another story time. So, next Friday, in the second half of the show, Andrea will do a story time.
Story time.
Story time.
Story time with Andrea. So grab your I started to say grab your goobers and popcorn, but I don't want to say grab your goober.
I want my goober right now. What do you want me to do with it now that I've got it?
I grabbed it and...
Grab your goobers while Andrea reads a story.
Wait a minute.
Tell me a story, Andrea. I'm holding my goober.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, so next Friday, we got story time with Andrea.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.
But, all right.
I creep myself out there. Ugh.
Feel like I'm
Yuck.
like,
Sorry,
go in there
Blue.
and take a shower and don dish detergent like old Danny Rowling did. But, but anyway, all right. So we had the two murders that night. Then we don't know really if the third murder happened that night because they were discovered, 2 days later?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
they suspect it was 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the first murders happened Friday morning, early
Right.
Friday morning, August 24th, and then Saturday on August 25th.
Is when Krista Hoyt.
Rowling breaks into an apartment. The apartment belongs to 18-year-old Krista Hoyt. Pries open the sliding glass door with a K-bar knife and a screwdriver. She's not home. Thank goodness.
Yeah. But he's persistent.
So he waits in the living room for her. Again,
Yes.
terrifying.
Yes.
At 11 a.m., Hoyt enters the apartment. 11 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday morning. Gainesville, Florida. Literally on the campus of UCF. Or UF. surprises her, puts her in a chokehold. He subdues her, he tapes her mouth shut, binds her wrists together, leads her into the bedroom, cuts her clothes from her body, and rapes her. Just like in the Powell murder, he forced her face down, stabs her in the back, stabs her so hard in the back, he ruptures her heart.
Mm-hmm. So she died instantly.
Instantly. After arriving back at his campsite, Rowling
Thank God for small blessings.
Here's the crazy thing. He arrives back at the campsite. Danny realizes, oh shit, I can't find my wallet. So he thinks he may have lost it at the murder scene. He returns there and decides, you know what? I need to do something else.
So?
Need to do something witchy, like Charlie said.
Yeah.
So he proceeds to decapitate Krista Hoyt, puts her head on a shelf facing her posed body. Basically wanting to make a scene for whoever finds her.
Yeah.
Poses her body and puts the head, the decapitated head, on a shelf looking at the body in the murder scene.
Right.
And he cut her.
Okay.
He cut her from here down.
Yeah.
Once again, 11 a.m.
On a Saturday morning.
On a Saturday in a little community of bungalows?
Yeah. Apartments.
And so...
And this is the weekend. This is the weekend before they open school on Monday. So the place has got to be full of people moving in, coming up. And somehow...
And not one person says, man, that dude looks sketchy.
Yeah. And this girl, she was working at the police department.
Because her life dream was to be a policeman.
Her dream was to be in law enforcement. So she was going to school to get a degree in criminal justice and was going to be a law enforcement officer. She was working at the police department. The cops that came, like she didn't show up for work that night, that Saturday night. She was supposed to be at work. She didn't show up. She didn't call. Totally unlike her. So one of the officers, another lady, she was like, Chris is not here. I'm worried. And what?
Oh, okay. I just remembered this part remember that part in that one documentary where they were talking about the bag? It was the bag of money that he had stolen that was left there. They had gotten there because she didn't show up for work. They would go there. They crack open the door. They see her laying there with a bag in the floor.
Yeah,
they close the door and wait for backup to come. Dude comes back while they're there, comes around back, goes in, grabs his bag and leaves.
Yeah.
And then they open the door and that bag is missing.
Yeah.
And one of the cops that discovered her was the same cop that discovered the bodies of the first two.
Yeah.
Which is just really rare in itself.
So again, this is a Saturday. This is a Saturday morning in Gainesville, Florida, on the campus of the University of Florida. People moving in. School's going to start on Monday. And nobody sees a guy who is obviously covered in fucking blood.
Yes.
With the police standing outside the apartment. Nobody notices him go in the apartment, take a bag of money, and leave again.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so frustrating.
Yeah. So, so the male cop, once, because they had the maintenance guy open the door. The maintenance guy, when he opens the door, he's the one that sees the bag of money, or the bag laying there next to her legs. Shuts the door. Cops arrive. The male cop looks in, and he turns to the female cop, and he's like, you don't want to see this. Don't come in here, because they were close.
Yeah.
So she's like, what? And he's like, you don't want to see this. So this is the lady that, not only did he just kill her, but he decapitated her, cut her from throat all the way down. Basically disemboweled her,
Cut her nipples off and left them on the bedside table.
Yes. Yes, some Ed Gein shit. And, this is a young girl who wanted to go into law enforcement. That never, ever got that opportunity. Her goal was to protect and serve, and she didn't even make it into, full blown what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
Just freaking sad. So while cops are there, while cops are on their way there, he goes back in, gets his bag, and leaves. And the next night, he goes out and does it again.
2 days later.
2 days later.
Monday.
Yes. Goes out and does it again. But this time he had a surprise. Because this time he goes into the house and walks in, and the first person he goes to is a man.
It's a man, baby.
It's a man, baby. Well, of course, this all happened Saturday, and then on Monday. By Monday, all the news had gotten out about the murders.
Yeah.
Gainesville was already in a state of panic. They said there was so much concern about the murders because this was the beginning of the school year. There were several of the University of Florida students that actually went ahead and left school.
Yeah.
They said several of them said that they were changing their daily routines. People were sleeping together in groups. Some students just completely withdrew their enrollment and transferred to other schools. Sadly, two people that stayed were Tracy Pauls, 23 years old, living with her roommate, 23-year-old Manny Tabota. Monday, August 27th, Rowling breaks into their apartment, pries open the sliding glass door with the same tools, the same K-bar and screwdriver that he had at the last one. Finds Manny Tabota asleep on one of the bedrooms, struggles with him, kills him. Mm-hmm. Hearing the commotion, Tracy Pauls comes down the hall into Tabota's bedroom, sees Rowling. She runs back down the hall, attempts to barricade herself in her bedroom. Rowling breaks through the door, gets inside the room, tapes her mouth and wrists, cuts off her clothing with the knife, rapes her, turns her over just like before, stabs her 3 times in the back, poses her body, but leaves Tabota's body alone. Doesn't even touch the body after he kills her.
Right.
Only poses the girl's body.
Right. And Tabota put up a fight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did.
He put up a fight. He had wounds to his hands from the knife blade.
His forearms.
He was slashed up.
Yeah, he was.
From putting up a fight. And this was the thing that I noticed. We were watching, there's a episode of Dateline, or 2020 is what it was.
Yeah.
Episode of 2020 that talked about all this. And it had video of all the kids, before they went off to school and all that.
Yeah.
But there's video of him. He was a buff dude.
Yeah, he wasn't a little guy.
Dude. He was not a little guy. And Danny is 6 foot,
about 90, I think.
Yeah, 190 pounds.
But see, that kind of gives more credit to the whole, mysterious part of it is
how did he overpower this guy?
Overpower this, former, or this football player.
Yeah, football player, that
much larger than him.
Yeah,
I know there's that whole, surprise attack thing, but you would think that at some point this poor guy could overpower and at least grab the knife and stab back.
Yeah. This guy that's in his late 30s.
Yeah, in his late 30s. And, I mean, what happened there?
Well, they said that the signs show that he was overpowered somehow.
Yeah.
No, how?
And then stabbed to death.
Yeah.
That's the question is,
how?
How?
Yeah.
How? And, of course, all 4 of those young ladies, all petite brunettes,
mm-hmm.
all cleaned, all posed afterwards. I think all of them had their nipples cut off. Just horrendous.
And he went for the brunettes because they resembled his ex-wife.
Yep.
Petite brunettes.
Yes. That hurt him by leaving him because he couldn't hold a job. And
he was a drinker.
He was a drinker, could not hold a job. And so, he took it out on all these other women that looked like him because of the one that hurt him.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I really, 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 really hope that his ex-wife, realizing the similarity between her and the victims didn't ever go back to her saying, oh my gosh, I feel so bad that he was targeting these girls that looked so much like me.
Right.
I really hope that wasn't the case.
Right.
I mean, she did what was best for
blame
her.
lays on the psycho.
For her and the kid.
Yeah.
She got out.
Was doing what was best for her and the kid.
But, okay, so, and all this occurred in 1990. You know, in 1990, I was a sophomore in 1990 in high school. So, not far from, being the same age of these kids that all this happened to.
I was a junior.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would have been a junior, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the same age as all these kids. I was
Right.
20 years old, and I was a sophomore in college.
All right.
I was the same age as the kid killed in.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were the same age as the kid killed. Yeah, 8.
Yep.
But
Sean Grissom.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what I was going to have you guys remind me.
Oh yeah. Hey, remember whatever you were going to say.
Thing we were supposed to remind you?
Yes, I remember.
Okay, good.
He didn't tell us
So-
when to remind him.
He didn't.
Yes, I did. I said after we've
Oh,
discussed all the murders.
see.
I forgot.
All right. So my question, and I have my own idea, but so he went in and he raped all these women, right?
Did he
And-
actually rape every one of them?
Except for the one,
Except for the one girl in the beginning. The first,
Yeah.
Okay.
the first one upstairs.
right?
He just killed her
He just killed her.
because she was screaming too much.
He just killed her.
So, but all the women he raped and had that intimate moment with, he rolled over on their bellies before he stabbed them to death.
Stabbed in the back.
Stabbed them in the back. Just the ones he had sex with. The other ones, it didn't matter where he stabbed them. He just killed them. Is there something in him that he couldn't, after he had, in his mind, he's just having sex with these women, I'm sure. Even though he's bound them.
Are you saying, was it a shame thing
Right.
that he flipped them over and then killed them?
He
'cause
didn't
was
want to.
ashamed?
He didn't want to look them in the eye
I don't think he wanted them looking at him when he killed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
when he killed them. Yeah, because I'm sure in his head he's thinking, "I just had sex with these women."
They
we just
didn't-
had a moment.
It was not consensual.
right, but I'm talking in his head.
In his head, he's like, I just had sex with this woman, and it was not consensual. And if I don't do something about it, they're going to go
that's
rat
not
on me.
even what I'm talking
Okay.
about. No, I'm saying in his head, he's looking at. He had a moment with these ladies, and he knows the end result's coming. He knows what that end result is. They have to die. So he could not look these women in the eyes that he had that moment with. So he rolls them over on their stomach and kills them from behind. So he can't see their face and they can't see his face when it's going on. Is there, that's my thought on the whole thing. He's not wanting that because they just had their time, their spiritual moment, and for him to end it, because he knows that's why he's there. He's there to kill them. But he's not wanting to look at them when he performs that act of murder.
Well, I think you're right, because, you look at the 4 that he raped and killed. Okay, Julie Grissom, Dennis Shreveport,
Yep.
Sonia Larson, Krista Hoyt, and Tracy Pauls. Rapes all 4 of them,
Rolled them on their
rolls
stomach.
them on their stomach, stabs them in the back, and then poses them face up.
Right.
Posed all 4 of them face up
In a sexual manner.
in a sexual manner. So when someone finds them, they're shocked by the scene. But Manny Taboda and Christina Powell both died fending him off. He was able to tape Powell's mouth shut and Tabota's mouth shut, but they both died fending him off. And from all accounts, they were stabbed front, back, sides. They were just stabbed multiple
Whatever
times.
was convenient.
And they were, for the most part, just left.
Yeah. And the little boy and the grandfather.
The little boy was stabbed once, literally stuck into the floor.
Yeah. But only the ones he raped, he rolled over on their stomach and stabbed them in the back.
Yeah. And then posed them.
Well,
and then posed them.
There, one of the documentaries made a good point that, he did that. He stabbed him. He would clean him up, turn him around, pose him. And it was like he would take this mental picture of them being in this position and they're not dead.
Right.
But they're just in this position. He would take this mental image and that's what he would just... That's the last thing he saw of them. He didn't see them being dead, stabbed, bloody. He saw them in a sexual manner.
Right. Yeah. That's why he cleaned them up.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that and you knew a little bit about forensics was first becoming a thing. He was wearing gloves the whole time for fingerprints, and
but he left blood evidence and he left secretion.
Semen.
He did.
He actually I think the first apartment, Powell and Larson, they actually found a paper towel with his semen on it, still sitting in the kitchen. He just left it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
He didn't even try to throw that away.
Yeah, and the handprint on the outside of it.
And then there were drops of his blood all over the place.
Yeah.
Several of the scenes.
Because he had lost a fingertip.
Yep.
And
one of his jobs at
one of his jobs, So the handprint that they had on the backside of the paper towel was missing part of a digit.
Yeah.
So you had the semen, and you had Mr. part of a finger,
4 fingers.
Yeah.
But I think that he didn't necessarily think that they could do anything. I mean, 1990 was the beginning of really like DNA kind of stuff.
Yeah, it took 21 days. 21 days
at that
to get
point,
and most people didn't know that.
Yeah.
And at that point, the whole, you can be caught by fingerprints. They dust. That's what they do. They dust because and so why they're not going to dust a paper towel.
Right.
They have no way to test this semen, or maybe that's not even a thought in his mind of any kind of testing, because the only way he's going to get caught is if they catch his fingerprints.
Yeah. I mean, most of us as a society didn't know much about DNA in 1990. We had heard the terms secretor, non-secretor, if you're a crime junkie. And that's really the only real people who knew a whole lot about the DNA and how that was changing things was those of us who were into like true crime and had friends who were cops and all that kind of shit. So he may not have known that
there was a possibility
leaving a trail of evidence.
Right.
I mean, I guarantee you he had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have prevented. But, they said that part of the bathing was not just so that they weren't bloody, but so that he was trying to erase any evidence as well.
Right.
That's what they said. I don't know. I believe more along the lines of what Steven's saying, because I think he was cleaning them up. I mean, we know that serial killers collect things. I think this was his way of, he becomes the ultimate puppet master.
Yeah.
And leaves them in a scene that he wants to remember them in.
Well, and these are young girls too, so he's posing them in a a whore position.
Yeah. But he cleans the blood off using. I mean, again, in the Grissom case, he cleaned her off with red wine vinegar.
Right.
And then he used cleaning agents on the other ones that he found in the house.
Yeah. Usually in one of them he used Dawn dish detergent.
Yeah.
He was cleaning them up and then posing them as this piece of art.
I'm sorry, but I don't know how, I'm not sure how the body really works after one is deceased. But if you remove any part of a body,
well, once the heart
stops beating, blood stops flowing.
Yeah.
After a point,
it's going to pool.
But it just seems like it would still look not appealing.
Oh, it's going to look not appealing.
It's going to look horrible.
Yeah. But the thing, it's not going to continue to pump out of the body.
Yeah.
It's all going to settle on the lowest.
Residual drips. I don't know.
Yeah.
In most cases, you're not going to get that. because there's no heartbeat. There's nothing to move the blood through. There's no reason. Like if
You literally become a giant bag of blood.
yeah,
And it
pretty
just
much
kinda sits there.
and it settles like a
On the
Ziploc bag.
lowest part.
Yeah.
That's when gravity takes over.
It's called lividity.
Lividity. And then rigor mortis.
And rigor actually takes up to 12 hours, depending upon the ambient temperatures to set in. So he could feasibly treat them like puppets.
August in Florida, their rigor's not going to sit in right away.
Right.
It's because warm. And
Yeah, it's warm.
That's it. It's warm and it's humid.
Yeah. Well, we know Andrea's never going to be a murderer. So.
I know.
No. But I'm at a loss.
I mean, the guy was a nut job,
He was.
and it obviously runs in his family.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I have a little bit of
Okay. Before you get into that, let's real quick. The kid that we were going into it before.
Ed.
Yes.
Yes.
So cops are looking for this guy and they don't know who he is. They just know it's someone.
I am an old goober. Yes, yes, I am. Thank you.
But they're looking for someone who would fit a profile that would do this.
Yeah.
This poor son of a bitch.
And so who do they find?
His name's Ed Humphrey.
Ed Humphrey.
He's 18 years old, going to college.
He's a druggie.
Was he a druggie?
Yes.
Okay. He was living with his grandmother, though, going to college, but he had some mental issues.
Yes. He was bipolar.
He just so happened to be off of his medication. And
Yes.
there's one incident where
He
he
whooped
beat
the
his,
shit out of his grandmother.
He beat Mamaw.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
And bless her heart, because Mamaw loves her grandbaby, she didn't want to press charges.
Right.
But the cops are like, hey, now,
You're an
we
old
might
son.
got something. We might got something here. So what do? They bring him in. They charge him for assault. And initially, I think the bond was like $10,500 or something. But then they were like, no. We need to hold this guy here.
Yeah. So they put it at $1 million.
So they put it at $1 million.
And he was a University of Florida freshman.
Yes.
And the thing that didn't help him, too, besides having the number of scars across his face and the mental illness, he was also known to hang around campus at night, dressed in military fatigues and carrying a K-bar knife.
Yes.
Which could be part of the whole mental illness and him not taking his medicine. So they literally just profiled this guy as, he fits the bill.
Oh, he fit the profile.
fits the bill.
You beat your grandma and you've
Yeah.
got scars. You look
Yeah.
like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that and the fact when they do search Grandma's house and his room, apparently they find loads of magazines all about what?
Women.
Knives, guns, and women.
And they found screwdrivers, and they found like 3 screwdrivers and 3 knives and stuff that would be used to break into
Well,
a house.
yes.
That they saw evidence of, because they saw where he had broken into the sliding glass doors by
With the screwdriver.
pushing the screwdriver, and it'd go through the wood and pop the door open.
My question
And so they see
is,
the
at what
screwdriver.
point does, an 18-year-old not have some type of magazine about women? If you're into the, I don't know, off the grid living or whatever, knives and guns.
Well, all kids are into knives and guns.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, you're taking the typical teenager here and really just twisting those hobbies, so to speak, into a potential.
Masturbation a hobby?
I think it is.
I think it is.
I believe it is. Yeah.
But
Hey, I got a hobby.
twisting it into a murderer, a serial killer.
Well, see, the thing that didn't help him in that, though, was that he had all these utensils in a bag.
Fair enough.
He had all these utensils in the 3 knives, and the various screwdrivers were in a bag.
Fair enough.
So he kind of put a nail in his coffin with that.
Yeah, but here's what they did, though. The media crucified this guy.
God,
They
yeah.
did.
I
Totally.
mean, they didn't say, oh, well, he's a potential suspect. They didn't say he's a possible suspect. They were
said
like, he's
he
the
is.
number one suspect.
Yes.
They've caught him. This is the guy.
And I mean, I have a hard time believing that, crazy or not, that this poor kid planned on, being a suspect and having all this stuff in a bag. It was probably, it was just a freak coincidence that he had this stuff in a bag. And yes.
Yeah, because he wasn't murdering anyone.
No.
No.
He
He was
was
just nuts.
And what saved him?
DNA.
Early DNA. In
Yes.
its infancy, early DNA. Because they knew from blood evidence and from the semen that they were looking for someone with type B.
And he was type A.
And even though they found out that he was type A, what do? We're not.
It
Well, they-
could still be him.
We're not ready to let this go.
But they let him go, but they still had watch on him.
They had one eye on him,
Yes.
and
yeah,
scoping
they were
out the rest.
They were all googly eyed.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, he was kind of googly eyed.
Yeah, he
And-
was,
But
yeah.
the sad thing is this poor guy, even after all of this, still
It destroyed his life.
has. Anytime his name is brought up, they're like eyeballing him, like,
Yeah.
"You done that? You done that?"
You should Google Ed Humphrey Gainesville, and you'll get I mean, the guy, sad. I mean, he was in a horrific car accident, which caused his mental illness, and literally, his face is just a mass of scars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did actually get plastic surgery.
Yeah. In 2000, he graduated
He
from
finally
college.
graduated college.
Finally.
Good for him.
But he refuses to be seen on camera, interviewed anymore. I mean, he wants no association with anything. He really just wanted to disappear.
He said he still.
People still, anybody that knows that case, they
still think he's a
associate him.
suspect.
Sure.
They still think he's a suspect. They think
terrible.
that Danny had help or whatever, and he was in with it. But I mean,
he was just an innocent, crazy bystander.
yeah,
Who
Yeah.
liked knives and guns and women.
yeah. He
Well,
was,
but that's like
up his grandma.
That's like
Yeah.
classic male bipolar, though.
yeah.
I mean, most men who are bipolar fit that category really well.
Most men fit that category.
In the South,
other than
especially,
Yeah.
other than beating up Mamaw. I mean, because around my neck of the woods, you beat up Mamaw, and you're gonna get your ass whipped by somebody.
Somebody going to
or
visit you,
dead.
show them
Yeah.
show them your guns.
Yeah,
Yes.
Or their guns.
somebody's going to
And
the
knives.
fucking train station real quick. But so, while they have Danny in custody, because he gets picked up on the robberies,
Yes.
while they have him in custody, they get a call from Shreveport that, because it's gone out, it's all over the news, and
It was something about that missing finger
the missing finger
that they had heard,
and the posing.
and the posing, that Shreveport heard about that, and they were like,
that sounds a lot like our murder
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
A
So
lot like our family annihilation.
Yeah,
So what do?
they connect.
They connect, and they're like, "Hey, your guy is our guy.
Yeah,
Yep.
So have our people call your people."
Yeah, they said the big three things that alerted them were the posing of the victims, the tape residue on the victims' bodies, because he would use tape when he was tying them up.
Oh, and that's another thing. He would take the tape with him,
yeah,
Yeah, he'd take the tape off. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
once you pose them, you got to take
Yeah.
the tape away.
but he would not just toss it away.
No,
he would
he'd
take it with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So there
'Cause-
was no, because I think he was
afraid of fingerprints.
Yeah, and then the vinegar used to clean the body. They said those big three things that got the investigators in Shreveport to contact Don Maines up at the Florida Department of Investigation, going, "Hey, you need to come look at these murders down here as well, because we have this family was annihilated, and we have an open case because we don't know who did it."
So DNA's done. Ed is released. He's okay. Still got an eyeball on him. And Danny gets picked up. DNA done. perfect match.
Type B.
And they're like,
Perfect match. We've got our guy. Yeah, the shitty thing was, back then, took 21 days to get the DNA results back.
Yep.
So, he's running around all nimbly-bimbly, pouncing, being a kitty cat. But,
Doing meow, Danny.
all right, Meow. Did you do this?
Meow.
All right, Meow.
did you kill him, Meow?
Tell me, right, Meow. But, so they're like, he's in jail for that, and boom. He's already caught. And
Yeah, because he got arrested on September 7th for robbing a supermarket in Ocala, Florida.
yes, and assault charges at a Winn-Dixie. Are there any more Winn-Dixies around?
There's some in Georgia.
Is there?
Yeah. Like South Georgia.
Yeah, because I was going to say when I lived
And a
in
Piggly Wiggly.
yeah,
So here's the frustrating thing.
there's
So
people
once,
in Kingston.
once they realized they got him, they've had him in jail because he got picked up 10 days after the murders, or when he tried to rob that supermarket. So once they realized, and they had some calls too, I guess, from some people who knew him in Shreveport that alerted them to, hey, this guy is a little odd. He said some things that were very odd, said that some people needed to be ended and things like that. So Florida investigators realized that they had Danny Rowling. He had multiple convictions for armed robbery. Oh, they suddenly realized, what? You've got several convictions. They also realized
You've
that
been
he
in
was
jail before?
maybe responsible for that robbery, that bank robbery that occurred on the day that Krista Hoyt's body was found. So only then do they go back to the evidence locker, which, keep in mind, this has been there the whole time.
The whole time.
Before any of the people in Florida were killed, they had this in their evidence locker, where they find a gun, a screwdriver, a bag of money, and a cassette player, and then and only then they go, hey, maybe we should listen to this. Of course, they also find the tools matching all the marks left at the murder scenes, and they go, we got this guy. This might be him.
Welcome to
Maybe
Flory.
we should test the clothing too.
Yeah.
I would have to say that if I knew that I had deputies that just gathered this stuff, which granted at the time
They were doing their job.
they were doing their job from a robbery, not murders. They see this as a robbery suspect stuff as opposed to murder suspect
But
stuff.
nobody went, oh my God, this guy's like 50 yards from everybody that's dead.
How convenient.
They're in Flory. Duh.
But if I had these deputies that were like, or I don't know, even this whole department that says, okay, we're going to collect this evidence and just throw it in the locker and just whatever, we'll leave it there to die, I would be like, and somebody's going to get some reprimanding right there. Somebody dropped the ball.
Yeah.
You're fired and you're fired.
Because at that point, they finally listen to the tapes and they find his audio diaries, and he actually alludes to the murders.
He says his
in
name.
his audio diaries.
I mean, he's basically letting it all out for.
Talks about what he did to his dad.
I mean,
Everything.
It's right there, plain sight.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
But again, it's that hidden in plain sight.
Yes.
Yes.
See, now I had mentioned earlier, because I'm old, that around the same time this is all happening in Florida, I didn't really hear about it because I was in L.A. And at the same time this was all happening in Florida, we were dealing with a guy out in L.A. at the same time
Little Richard
by the name of
Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
Because that's what L.A. was all involved
yeah.
with, because he had just been captured before all this happened.
Yeah.
So we didn't really hear about that. It was kind of briefly passing. But again, these people are hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. Andrea actually found an article today. When was it? The serial killer that was here?
Oh, there was a serial killer here in East Tennessee from 1919 to 1926, and they still have not.
They never found him.
found him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
1919 and 1926.
I was 32.
I just turned 40.
Did you? Yeah, sweet.
But yeah, like Maryville College students found it, like read into it, and they took off with it, and they've done research.
Wow.
And I'm going to read more into it, though.
Yeah.
So any of you out there listening that may be aspiring police officers and or investigators, if you find a bunch of shit that includes like tapes or things you should read, please, please, please listen to the tapes.
Yeah.
Read
the
papers.
diaries. Yeah. Don't just toss them all in a locker and go, I don't need this shit.
Yeah.
The
It
fuck
means
is that?
nothing. It means nothing. Even if the tape is wham.
It was just a DUI.
Hey, what do you want to do with this
Hey,
cum-soaked piece of paper towel? Just toss it.
Yeah.
I don't need that. Toss that. It's okay.
Hold on. Wait, hand me that.
Ew,
I got
that's-
mustard on
That's
my chin.
nasty.
Ew!
Oh, God.
You got something on your mustache now.
Gross. That's nasty.
All right. So,
Damn it, it's on my mustache. And we're back.
yeah.
Yep.
So he's caught. He knows he's going to jail. And Andrea has an article she wants to read. It was actually an interview with
His
mom
mother.
in 1994.
Claudia Rowling first noticed her son's mind slipping about 6 years ago. They were sitting by themselves at the dinner table in Louisiana when Danny Rowling told her about his darker side, which would blossom in August of 1990 with the slayings of 5 Gainesville college students. He said it was another person, she recalled in a 92 videotape interview played for jurors in Alachua Circuit Court. His voice was deeper, harsh. His face got real hard, almost no emotion there at all. Just kind of a deadpan expression. If I didn't know him so well, I probably wouldn't have known it was him. After a week of gory photographs and lurid details presented by prosecutors, jurors who will recommend whether Rowling should die for his crimes heard more evidence Tuesday of his abuse and damaged life. On tape, his mother said Rowling, who endured a lifetime of verbal and physical abuse from her husband, James, a retired Shreveport, Louisiana police lieutenant, just lost it after his wife of 2 years filed for divorce around 1977. Later, unable to hold a job, he turned to crime and spent 8 years in prison for armed robberies in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi from 1979 to July of 1988. Jurors have heard evidence from a Rowling confidant, convicted killer Bobby Lewis, that Rowling snapped in a Mississippi prison where sewage spewed into his cell several times a week.
Gross.
It was after he returned to Shreveport from prison, his mother said that Rowling talked about the other quote-unquote person inside. His walk and even his voice changed. He told her the name of the personality, but she couldn't recall it. It sounded tough, she said. Rowling, who pled guilty last month to 5 counts of murder in the Gainesville deaths, told investigators he has 2 personalities, the murderous Gemini and Enad, a Jesse James-type robber. Pressed by prosecutors, Jim Nylon, for details of the personality she saw, Claudia Rowling added a little. All I could pay attention to was his face and how different it looked to me, she said. Rowling, 39, fled Louisiana in May of 1990 after an argument with his father. He shot him in the face. Rowling's mother blamed much of his psychological trouble on her husband. They were separated at the time of her statement. I can't get well at my house. There are still bullet holes in the walls, she said. He goes over every step of the way how he's going to kill the neighbor across the street, and nobody can get well with that going on all the time. Claudia Rowling said she sought to get Rowling psychological care several times, but her husband said nothing was wrong with him. Rowling's former girlfriend, Lillian Bunny Mills of Bossier City, Louisiana, said she and his mother persuaded him to seek mental help in March of 1989 and again on November 14th of 1989, but he did not follow up on the visits. Rowling suggested to investigators last year that he killed a Shreveport woman, her nephew, and her father on November 4th of 1989, but he has not been changed. Mills, a country western music producer, said Rowling, who sang gospel songs and played guitar with her, resisted counseling because he feared retaliation by his father. He often cried about how his heart hurt from the poor relationship with his dad, she said. He had daddy issues.
Big time.
It was almost as if you could crawl inside and feel his pain, Mills said. She said Rowling related stories of childhood beatings, being handcuffed and his father holding a knife to his throat. Gainesville clinical psychologist Harry Kropp, who first examined Rowling in January of 1991 after his arrest on armed robbery charges in Ocala, said Rowling talked extensively about the killings of Christina Powell, 17, Sonia Larson, 18, Krista Hoyt, 18, Tracy Pauls, 23, and Manuel Taboada, 23. Kropp said Rowling had a borderline personality characterized by violent mood swings, impulsive and self-destructive behavior, narcissism, and antisocial feelings. Mr. Rowling has an incredible amount of underlying anger, Kropp said. Kropp presented no testimony of multiple personalities. He said Rowling's main problem is his voyeuristic need to peek into windows at women to satisfy his sexual urges and fantasies, which Rowling admitted doing before the killings. Kropp said Rowling knew right from wrong, explaining he killed Hoyt because she looked like his ex-wife. The psychologist said Rowling likened the killings to the ethnic cleansing in Bosnia and also told him Paul's last words, "You're going to get caught."
All right. All right, so Gemini. Gemini was his, or who he said was his other personality.
Yeah, the vicious one.
The vicious side of him. Now I want to take this on the paranormal side of this, onto the shock doc that's on Discovery Plus right now, with Steve Shippey and Cindy Kaza. Both amazing investigators. They go to the house where he grew up, where this poor little lady lives now.
And she bought it from his dad.
Bought it from his
She's
dad.
the second owner of the house.
Yes.
That sweet woman. I just wanted to hug her.
And there's still
Is it Shirley?
bullet holes. Yeah, Shirley.
Yep.
There's still bullet hole in the kitchen where he shot at where I guess they had their gun battle.
Mm-hmm.
Gunfight.
And
That's Jesse James part.
there's one though. What used to be the master bedroom still has the curtains
that had
blood
blood
splatter.
Yeah, there was the curtains that the family had hanging up when they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She never changed.
Yeah. And upon further inspection of these said curtains, there was blood on those curtains from the day that Danny shot his dad.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, how fucked up do you have to be to buy and move into a house where all that occurred and not patch the bullet holes?
Well,
the
in
thing
this
is-
woman's defense, I don't think she initially knew what had happened until later when the neighbors were like,
Neighbors
"Hey,
told her about the house.
do you know
Yeah.
what happened?"
But still, I mean, you move into a house. What's the first thing you do when you move in?
Well,
I paint.
She
I
was
patch and
older.
paint.
She was older.
Her and her husband are older and apparently on a very fixed income.
Yes.
Very fixed.
And
income.
and they actually asked her, "Why do
don't
you
you move
stay
here?"
here?" And they said,
She
"She
said,
said I can't afford it."
Yeah, can't afford it.
Which also leans into the, why don't you just get new curtains? Well, some people just can't afford it.
Yeah.
If they're there,
I will buy her some new curtains. Can we take up a fund for that? And buy her all new curtains, patch her walls,
Yeah, I mean,
cleanse her home.
Well,
They did cleanse her home.
They did.
They brought in an exorcist, and he came in and he cleansed the entire house. But the activity
Oh,
Oh my gosh,
that they got,
was insane.
so Steve Shippey, he sets up all these trigger objects all over the place. Any type of motion detector or energy detector, like the EMF meters and all this, music boxes that will turn when they detect energy. Yeah. Once they said Gemini, Everything
Everything.
started going off at the same
Like,
time in different rooms.
Different rooms throughout the entire house.
The entire house was just going off.
Cindy Kaza, super sensitive, super crazy sensitive.
Had to go.
Had to leave the house because of everything she was feeling in there.
At one point, they realized later on when they're standing next to the curtain, there's this shadow creature that
that was going
and
straight
tries
to
to
Steve.
attach itself to Steve Shippey's back.
Yes.
So, not necessarily family psychosis, but family demon.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Because that's one of the things I get into with the show. Now, again, if you guys have not seen this shock doc, it's the newest shock doc on Discovery Plus called The Gainesville Ripper. But they talk about Gemini not just being this other personality, but
an actual
demon. And apparently, a few times, Rowling, before he was executed, described Gemini as being an external demon that would actually come and attack him.
Now, wasn't one thing about him claiming Gemini, the Gemini attachment, was after watching Exorcist 3? Because isn't Gemini in or being mentioned in Exorcist 3?
That was the demon in
So,
Exorcist 3, yeah.
They were like, he just watched this movie not too long ago, and now all of a sudden he has Gemini. It's kind of one of those like...
Yeah.
Isn't that convenient? Kind of things, yeah.
But the thing is, you watched the shock doc.
I did.
Mike watched the shock doc.
It was
Amy
convenient,
didn't
but
get
it's
to,
also kind of like...
Well, they actually get the name Gemini comes through one of the spirit boxes.
Yes.
You hear it
says
say
Gemini.
Wow.
Yeah.
But again, that could have just been Rowling's spirit, too.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be that dark side of him, that twisted side of him that
believed that he had Gemini.
That once he heard Gemini mentioned.
Yeah.
Triggered.
He was just saying Gemini.
Yeah. And when, everything going off, at the same time in different rooms.
That was freaky.
Yeah. Blue, you going to be okay over there, right?
Quit eating the blanket.
Whenever you say Gemini, Blue makes...
Oh,
Gemini.
shit.
Nope, he's fine.
But that's the weird thing, too. And again, that kind of connects on with some of these...
Gen 6 said, I thought that was Pazoo. That was in the first Exorcist. Exorcist 3, it's Gemini.
Yeah.
But,
could there be some demonic possession? I think on some level, every serial killer has some type of possession.
Some
type. Whether it be a psychological, just in their own head.
Yeah.
Or if it's a legit possession. They have some type of possession.
Well, that's another thing they talk about in the shock doc, too, is this idea of a family curse.
Yeah.
It traveled from the grandfather into the father into the son. And we kind of talked about it a little bit before the show started. Curses. Do you believe in curses? I think curses are a thing if you allow them to be.
Right.
And I think he was a prime... When you look at the entire, the whole entirety of his background, he was the prime.
Oh yeah,
the prime target for a curse.
Yeah, he was beat down.
He had a choice. You get to that crossroads. You either go this way
or that way.
You go that way. And he went, I'm going to go that way.
Yeah,
and it just all went downhill from there. Same thing with Ramirez.
Yeah.
Same type of thing. You grow up with that horrible, and then you get to this. Was there a demon? I think in his psyche, it was easier to say, "Oh, well, this was Gemini. This wasn't me."
Right.
You look at Bundy. It was easier for Bundy to talk about the third person doing this.
It's easier to blame somebody else than to take the blame.
Gacy did the same thing. Ramirez kind of did the same thing. They all separate themselves from, it wasn't me. It was
Because you got to think. How many people have had horrible, horrible childhoods? Horrible. They've gone through the beatings. They've gone through the torture.
And turned out okay.
They've turned out to be some of the most upstanding, helpful, resourceful people out there.
Yeah.
So it is literally a matter of which way you're going. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, but we know too that, you know, negative energy creates things.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just like your cousin's house. Mm-hmm. And it's entirely possible that you had this grandfather who was unhinged, obviously, has grandchildren and cuts his wife's head off. That's just wow.
Sure.
And that negativity breeds more negativity, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a demonic presence, but it creates a presence of its own.
Sure.
Negative. Bad.
Well, you got that too. I mean, are there demons? Sure. If you believe there are angels, then there have to be demons as well. There
Yeah.
has to be a direct opposite. If you believe there's something good, that there's evil out there as well. But was this a demon that was there, or was this something that was this a demon that Danny created?
A psychological demon or an actual physical
Right.
demon?
and we know from, you know, research for other podcasts we've done, that if enough belief is put into something,
Oh,
something else
it
can
will
be
be
created.
it can be
Yeah.
completely manifested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
A la Slender Man.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Something that started as a story online to be able to create to a point where
Little girls are killing
they'll
other
kill
ones.
each other.
Yeah. To appease Slender Man.
I mean, they created something out of just sheer belief, and
Yeah.
I think he helped. I think he created Gemini for two things. A, it allowed him to enact these things that were in his head,
Disassociate.
but then it disassociated himself
Yeah.
to where, oh, it wasn't me, it was Gemini.
Right.
And he may very well have had an alter personality type.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with everything that he went through as a child, that's usually what causes
sure.
that break in the psyche.
There's no way in hell he was mentally stable.
No.
No.
And when you look at all these serial killers, there's no way in
None
hell
of them
any
are mentally stable.
No, they may appear that way.
Yeah.
You know, look at Bundy. He appeared to be the most, but you know, he was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And no joke, looking at this guy, he looked like, you know,
The guy next
your
door.
high school
door.
science
Yeah.
teacher.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you see somebody scary, you're like, I'm going this way.
Yeah.
But you see
Richard
some
Ramirez was scary.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would have been
He
like
was scary looking, yeah.
yes.
So I
was
would have
scary.
crossed the street.
Yeah, I'm
to
not going
walk.
to go near him.
Charlie
Yeah.
Manson was scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
But
But Bundy,
Bundy.
Gacy,
Gacy, Coral,
yeah,
I mean, those guys you'd been
Sam
like,
Little,
Sam Little,
you've been like,
Yeah.
sup?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
yeah. Jeffrey Dahmer would not have intimidated me at all.
No. And
Yeah.
even when you saw him in interviews, it was always, I know I did something.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Same
Yeah.
with
I mean,
Danny Rollins.
Danny
I got
Rowling,
something I got to go do.
he was
Yeah.
like, well, you know, at the end, he was just kind of like, yep, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He was always very well spoken,
yeah.
very polite. You know, I mean, we saw that the interview that his last interview that he gave, because his attorneys told him not to talk to anyone anymore. You know, the reporter was like, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and yes, ma'am.
Oh. And that time, he started singing
And,
to his fiance.
Yes. Who wasn't in love with him, she said, but you
Right.
know, she did this quite often.
right.
That's like a whole nother ball game, is getting into these fiancés, girlfriends
Sandra
of serial killers,
Yeah.
these significant others of serial killers who are imprisoned
yeah.
on death row. Why?
Yeah.
What is?
Oh, he's so handsome. Let me write him a letter. He couldn't possibly be guilty.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Sandra
Sandra
London.
yeah.
I mean, in that one,
She obviously did this she wrote a book out.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he said he gave he gave her permission.
But she's profited off of
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
But she profited off her first
exactly
serial killer
her
boyfriend.
Yeah.
her prior boyfriend was a serial
It
killer.
was a former police officer that killed 18 people, I
Yeah.
think.
20.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, but
She was well practiced at this.
Oh yeah. But in that one video where he starts singing to her, and she's all over there smiling and just like, oh my gosh, he's singing to me. He's singing so sweetly to me. He would never hurt a fly.
I'm gonna make so much money off him. Yeah.
Well, then he rolled right up into his execution day, because on his execution day, when he walked into the room, there were 47 people in the room waiting to see him die. He sang a religious song, and then was put to death.
And stared at the family.
Mm-hmm.
Stared at the families.
Wow.
Sang a religious song to him.
But never apologized.
Never said sorry.
Never said he was sorry.
I mean, why say something you don't believe in?
I think at one point he said that he felt bad.
Yeah, he felt bad.
He felt bad for the evil that his hands had caused.
Yes. For what this hand has done.
Yeah.
But he never said, I'm sorry.
Apologized.
I'm sorry to all of you for taking your loved ones. You know.
I think he loved the attention of it.
I
think he wanted to make the most of it for himself.
And I mean, that's the
his last meal.
That's the narcissist.
Lobster tail, butterfly shrimp, baked potato, strawberry cheesecake, and a sweet tea.
Yeah, and listened.
Damn it, now I'm hungry.
Christian music.
But see, the whole thing about a serial killer is that's a narcissist for you. It's me. It's me.
Keep in mind, this is the same man who brutally stabbed an 8-year-old boy, stuck him to a floor, stabbed him so hard, attacked and raped and cut off the nipples of a 17-year-old girl, 23-year-old pre-law senior.
Beheaded an 18-year-old girl.
Yep.
Posed her body. This, of course, after raping all of them.
Yes.
Yeah. To go out singing Christian music.
Yep.
What a piece of shit.
I mean.
Amen.
Yeah.
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 There is a special place in hell for people like that.
Sound like the church lady, did she?
Yes.
Who was it? Satan?
Isn't that special?
It's that special.
All right, guys. So
this was a very interesting.
Yeah.
And to think that this was, that a movie of now was loosely based on this. I mean, I had no idea that there was any inkling of truth.
No, I thought it came straight out of Wes Craven's head, But no, it was Michael something that actually wrote the screenplay. And it was based loosely off of Mr. Danny Rowling.
Crazy. Never heard of that guy until now.
Yeah.
It's craziness. Fun times, y'all. I'm so glad we're back.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will be back again next week.
I will find a story.
Yay!
And don't forget, second hour.
Story time.
Story time with Andrea. Don't grab your goober.
Or do. I don't care.
Yeah, it's whatever.
I've been grabbing my goober this whole time.
Me too, but it's whatever.
I even grabbed Blue's goober.
You too?
I did.
Nice.
He doesn't have goobers. I mean,
He has a goober.
He's got a goober.
He doesn't have the...
He don't have the tiddly bits.
Yeah.
You don't have no raisins.
Yeah.
No raisins.
Yeah. But I'll grab it only if she uses her sexy voice. You know she will. You know.
I mean,
she will.
that's how I do.
You got something on your mustache.
That's how I do story time. Story time. Get that off your mustache.
All right, guys, we're running down to the
yeah.
last minute here, so tune in next week.
Thank y'all for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us. Be sure and share the podcast. And just so you know, we still have merch for sale. Just check into the podcast notes and you'll find a link. Check out our videos. New video coming out very, very soon. Just finished Mike's interview tonight. We'll get yours tomorrow if you're free.
Yeah, I should be
Okay,
free.
yeah, cool. We get
I
those
think I've
done
got
tomorrow?
lunch plans, but that's it.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'll be
sweet.
like, have a beat face and everything.
There you go. Sweet. All right. So until next week, when is my interview? Hey, I want to
actually
get in
do
touch with you. I can do a Zoom interview with you. Yes. And Michael. So I'll get in touch with you guys. We'll get this done. And until next week, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrea.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Mike.
And don't forget, guys, always stay spooky, my friends.
That's all, folks.
You've been listening to Paratalk with the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. If you have a question or comment about the show you've just heard, or you have an experience to share, or you need to contact us concerning an investigation, feel free to email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. That's 865-264-0448. We invite you to find and like the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us online at easttnghostseekers.org. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Paratalk.